Hi guys, this is AP Environmental Science video 2. It is going to be on environmental ethics today. We're going to be discussing how do we figure out who is responsible for the environment. So a couple of things before we get started. There are two different types of value systems. You're either utilitarian, meaning that you believe that things are of value simply because they have a usefulness. So therefore, if it's not useful, then it would not be of value. And then there's also intrinsic value, valuing something simply because it exists, not necessarily because it's useful to us. If you've ever gone to a national park or any park in general, and you walk around and you like the sunshine and the trees and all the other plants, that would be an intrinsic value. Even though you're not going to cut those trees down and use them for anything, you would feel that they are of value. So the difference between ethics and morals, ethics is a branch of philosophy. It is a standard of right and wrong, regardless of what culture you were born into. So in other words, no matter where you are from in the world, the ethic that killing is wrong is the case. However, morals does take into account the culture that you were born into. So not every culture is going to have the same morals. They're going to think different things. So example, a country may believe in the ethic that killing is wrong. However, they may also believe that another country is morally wrong because of something they're doing. So they're going to declare war on that country, even though they believe that killing is wrong. So some examples of things that we might have to talk about in this class. Is it acceptable for poor farmers in undeveloped countries to cut down forests to make room for farmland, even if this action harms the environment? So that's an example of an environmental ethical situation that you would have to figure out the different points of and be able to argue for or against either way. Same thing with building hydroelectric dams. Should we build them when we know it's going to disrupt fish patterns? So before we talk about what are the environmental worldviews, we need to talk about a little bit of what makes your worldview what it is. So how you think the world works and also how you view yourself and your role in the world is going to impact your worldview. Also, what you think is right or wrong. So in other words, your morals are going to determine what you think the world is and how the environment should work. So looking at a couple different environmental worldviews, anthropocentric is human-centered. Anytime you put anthro in front of something, that makes it about humans, like anthropology. So this view is that the environment is here for us to use. And then over in the diagram, you see that humans are at the top. Sorry, ladies, I completely understand. The woman is down there beside the whale. Not an accurate depiction, obviously, for today's society, but this was unfortunately a textbook diagram. Biocentric, life-centered, so all life has a right to exist, and you'll notice that the people are now inside of the circle, they're not at the top. And then you have ecocentrism, meaning that you're environment-centered. The environment is important regardless of whether or not humans are able to use it, and it should be left alone and cared for. So I'd like you to take a second. What's yours? Place a star or highlight which one you think you most identify with. So some ethical positions, and you'll kind of notice that some of these go with the worldviews. There's the development ethic that resources are here for us to use them, so we should use them. There's the preservation ethic that nature is special, so we shouldn't destroy nature. And then there's the conservation ethic, meaning that there should be a balance between development and preservation. So I'd also like you to star which one you feel like you most identify with this one. So what are some solutions to these different worldviews? They're all very different, so what do we do? Here are some guidelines by Mr. Milbroth that says regardless of what your worldview is, we can follow these guidelines and kind of be ethical about things. So when dealing with the biosphere and ecosystems, if we can understand how nature works, then we can help sustain nature and not deplete all the resources. And when we do have to alter nature, because we are going to develop things, that's just a reality, we need to choose methods that are going to be the least harmful to the environment. And then when dealing with species and different human cultures, there's the idea that no species or human culture should have to become extinct because of something that we are doing. And then what do we do with blame and guilt and stuff like that? One thing you'll probably know is if you try to blame someone for something, that kind of ends the conversation. People don't like to be blamed. So how can we talk about these issues without assigning blame and assigning guilt? and making people feel bad about things. Because if they feel bad about them, yes, sometimes they might try to change it, but if you make them feel guilty or blame them, they're probably going to shut down and not want to do anything about it. So here are kind of some things that we can do. Recognize and move past mental traps leading to denial and things like that. And seeing that there is no correct or one solution to every problem, and we have to talk about these things, which will be a lot of what this class is about. And then finally, looking at a couple of different companies. I'm going to open up the link at the bottom in just a second, but there are companies that are pledging to be sustainable and use resources wisely. So these kind of 10 tenets that they're looking at: protecting the biosphere, conserving energy, restoring environmental damage when they cause it. So I'm going to open up this link and actually show you. So if you go to this link, you can see this is the company network, and these are different Fortune 500 firms that have really made the pledge to be sustainable and sell you sustainable products. So if you care about this issue and you really want to know what kind of companies should I buy from, you can go down here and you'll notice there's a couple of them. There's Apple, there's Best Buy, there's Ben & Jerry's, a couple others you might notice: Coca-Cola, eBay, you see Ford and Nike, Seventh Generation. So these are all companies that have pledged to be sustainable in their production and consumption of goods. And you may want to make a note or jot one down. You might see that on a quiz question tomorrow. Okay, so that's it that I have for you today. Come in with your questions tomorrow and we'll discuss what your world views are. Thank you.